wax, blow you a kiss. About to take off on my spaceship.
I started my Instagram like in December of 2019, and I had a personal account. And then, I had been baking, but I was baking like, chocolate chip cookies once a week. And I thought, I can bake chocolate chip cookies without mommy. It's a good thing. And my grandma comes in, and my grandma's a really honest person with me. I don't know about other people, but she's really honest with me. And she, goes, Zachary, you need to make something more than chocolate chip cookies. And so I go, okay. And, of course I, cried inside of my head because I was like, why is my grandma not liking chocolate chip cookies anymore? That didn't stop her from coming into my house and eating 4 of them when she was on her diet. But like, so I started doing more stuff, and then I created, my Instagram account. Like back then, I think it was like Chef Zachary Cooks and Bakes. And so it was like this, no, it's Chef Zachary, like, cooking and baking. So it was, like, this huge, long Instagram. And you couldn't even, like, fit it in one story. And back then, I was, like, putting the story in the middle. Like, I didn't know how to do anything.
Right.
And my parents only have Facebook to look at pictures of my sister when she's at camp. Mm-hmm. And so I started that. And, that was December 2019. By, like, March, I had, like, 400 followers. And my personal account had less. And
so when did you start it? You started in when?
I started it in, like, December of 2019.
December. And by March, you had how many?
400.
Damn. So, that's already good. Yeah, that's a good amount.
It's good, but it's not great.
Right. But it's a good start.
But I was private.
Right.
And this, I did a little collab with a lady. My parents paid for me to do a class with this lady. We did a cake, and she gave me a bunch of shout outs, and she's like, you should be public. So I go and I make myself public.
Was it scary going from private to public?
I didn't really have any personal, like, my full name is not on my Instagram. There's a lot of, like, articles in the LA Times and New York Weekly.
I've seen that
have my last name. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I mean, a lot of people know that I'm Jewish, which is like my last name kind of gives that off, which is a little bit of a concern because I've gotten, a little bit of anti-Semitism because there's always haters.
Yeah.
But, this lady had 1 million followers, okay? Mm-hmm. She gives me a shout out after she tells me to make myself public. And so I make myself public, and I gained like 10,000 followers that week. And my mom... I didn't even know she had Instagram, or I did, but I didn't think she knew how to use it. I mean, she learned how to DM last night, which was not a good thing because she's like DMing me on all my stories. And I'm like, oh, great. She has like 10 followers. But, and I get to that as much as my mom comes home from work and she throws her bag down and she goes, Zachary, why do you have 10,000 Instagram followers? You're supposed to be private. And I'm like, oh, you know what a private account is? You know what a public account is? I'm acting like, my mom she's a very smart person, and she doesn't know that much about social media, neither does my dad or most of my family, but she knows about it.
Right.
And so she goes, delete your Instagram account. And I go, no way. And she goes, delete your Instagram account. And I'm like, no way. And she pushed it on me. So I temporarily disable it so we have the conversation so no one can see it.
Right.
I still have my followers. I still follow people. But, like, if I followed you and you had 100 followers, you would have 99 followers when I,
right.
But, then when I come back. But, then we went over to our friend's house that we've gone on a bunch of vacations with, and we went to Arizona with them, like, the next week. And the dad goes, and we were having the conversation with my mom and I were arguing. And the dad, he's a little more high-tech than my mom and my dad, but he's not, like, that big on social media. I mean, I think he actually has, like, 40,000 LinkedIn connections and stuff like that, and I think he has a lot of Twitter.
40,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's kind of a businessman. And I just went to Starbucks with him and his son. His son's like kind of like my little brother. And he said, and he wanted me to give his name. So his name's Scott Beck. Shout out to you, Scott, if you're listening to this. But I'm going to send you a link, Scott. But he told my mom, you can't make him delete that. That's awesome. And he goes, and my mom goes, well, I don't want him having $10,000. And he goes, set rules with him about it. But, you have to realize that possibly in a few years, there will be companies and restaurants that will pay him to do things. And now I have like 7 partnerships going right now, and I have all these restaurants paying me to go eat there. And so I was telling him about that today, and he's like, you need to remember that you wouldn't have this Instagram account if it wasn't for me. And I'm like, he's like, don't give me all the credit, but I do always remember, my mom would have maybe deleted it, but he kind of talked her into it. And so there's rules, no last name.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense because Instagram can be scary, especially for someone like as young as you. It can be scary because I'm sure that you've seen of how it could impact a lot of people, and like exactly what he said. As long as there's rules and regulations to it, then you should have no problem.
Because, I mean, his daughter went off and created a TikTok account a few months later and gained 20,000 followers in like a month.
Hmm.
She has like 40,000 TikTok followers now. And he goes, oh my gosh, it's so great. And the mom goes, no way. She's deleting it. And she still has it. But TikTok is actually weird. Like, they've striked her because she's a gymnast. I mean, she's used to be a gymnast. She's a cheerleader now.
Hmm.
But she's done some stuff and she's like posted and she's like in a bikini and they've marked it as underage, like nudity.
How old is she?
She's 13, but it wasn't even close to being nude.
Yeah.
It was just like she's wearing a bikini, and I'm like, I've seen a lot more stuff that's so bad on TikTok.
Yes.
And I think Instagram's filters are pretty good, and I found that people that have, like me, that have over 100,000 followers, like, when I report something, it gets resolved in, like, 24 hours.
Oh, really? Like, what kind of stuff are you reporting?
So a kid at my school actually threatened to kill me on Instagram a few months ago.
How do you handle that?
We called the police, or we had a friend at the police, a mutual friend, and so it was scary. And the part that scared me was, the police called his dad, and they go, "Do you have a gun?" Because he threatened to come in with his dad's gun.
Wow.
And they go, and his dad goes, "No, I don't have a gun." But I used to be friends with that kid, and I knew they had a gun because he said that they went shooting every week. So I knew they had a gun, and so that's the part that scared me.
Uh-huh.
And so as I was going to a volleyball tournament, and, I'm standing here like this, passing, like trembling because I was so scared.
Yeah.
But the police basically threatened him and said, we're not going to be able to charge you for anything because sending someone a DM really isn't probable cause for anything.
Right.
But we'll take you down to the police station and you'll sit with a bunch of drunkies and, meth addicts for 24 hours. And then your parents will come pick you up in the morning and it'll be a life-changing experience.
Right.
So we, were like, oh, we don't want him to do that. But, I reported that account and it got deleted. But, technically, like, once your Instagram account's deleted, I think there's 30 days where the police can still, like, get a warrant to, like, see it.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it's gone.
Right.
And I think Instagram's filters are definitely better than
Yeah.
TikTok. And I know, there's always going to be haters. And I was always told, there's going to be haters. But, I get my fair share.
Yeah. Yeah, even in Instagram's so easy, or even any platform is so easy to talk smack because all it is just words. And somebody you can easily delete him or you could easily ignore him. But when people actually take into action, that's when things can get serious. And even when you confront them, in their face, they're
cowards.
Exactly.
Because they're just going to sit behind a computer and threaten you. They're not actually going to do something.
Exactly.
But, I got something today, and there's, like, the line between where do you delete the comment and when do you respond, because this, I did, like, a reaction video to the egg, to, like, someone cracking an egg with this little gadget. You might have seen it. It was a reel. And it did pretty well for me. It's not anywhere close to my best video, but it was basically a guy had this, like, thing, and he, like, cracked the egg, and the caption on his video was, "I bought this egg cracker on Amazon and it didn't work." So I did a reaction, was like, you don't need a silly tool to do that. You can do it with a bowl and your counter or your hands, or
Mm-hmm.
And this girl comments on it and goes, "You're an idiot. This wasn't for cracking an egg." And I just responded and was like, "Well, that's what his caption said." And she's like, "It's for something else." And I knew this girl, and I know she's as far from a chef as they come. I'm like, don't even talk to me, bro. And I just deleted it after she was like, "Go off, girly." And I was like, okay, buddy.
So that was already one comment with one thread. Do you get comments like that a lot?
Mm-mm.
No?
That was a rare one. I mean, there's always like, "Oh, you're a sellout," or "Why don't you go to school? Are you a dumb dropout?" And I'm like, and I'm just like, I ignore it. But, like I said, I have like 44,000 DM requests right now. I'm not going to see half of them. I'm not going to see a quarter of them. I'm not going to see an eighth of them. Because, when there's a verified person that DMs me, I wish there was a way where, like, all the verified people that DM'd you could go to a specific thing.
Right, like a particular box, right?
Yeah,
Message box.
I do like, because when I first had Instagram and had a public account, all the messages just went to one thing. But now there's, like, the requests, which is helpful because, I don't, like, if my mom DMs me because she's on her computer and her phone's dead and needs to say something urgent, because, I even communicate with you on DM more, like,
Yes.
before I had your phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I always like I don't give out my phone number to a lot of people because that same kid that threatened me, he posted my phone number a few weeks ago and thought it would be funny, and I'm just like, oh, are you kidding me? And I think I got like 75 calls that day.
Really?
And so I reported it, and his Instagram account got striked, which means like if he does one more stupid thing, his account's gone. It's an account. There's nothing going on it. No one needs to see it.
Yeah.
No one cares what he's
But I'm afraid the decision's been made up. I'ma go way up. I picture myself with a smile when I feel the weight off. Been having this dream for a while, been taking the pain off.